Hello, I'm Thomas Butkiewicz. I'm a researcher at the Center for Coastal and Ocean Mapping at the University of New Hampshire, and today I'm going to present a little bit of our work on doing web-based visualization for long-term ocean acoustic observations and modeled soundscapes. This work was part of the ADION project, which is the Atlantic Deepwater Ecosystem Observation Network. The goal of the ADION project was to build and distribute a network of hydrophones along the Atlantic outer continental shelf. The project sought to capture both biological sources of noise from fish and marine mammal calls, as well as human sources such as passing ships and offshore energy projects. To capture as much of the soundscape in the region as possible, each of the landers were outfitted with a variety of hydrophones, including wideband, directional, and omnidirectional. The network consisted of 7 lander sites, each recorded for a little over 3 years with multiple hydrophones. This resulted in 73 terabytes of raw audio files. The massive size of this dataset presents a huge accessibility problem for both researchers and the public. It takes a really long time to download 73 terabytes, and you also need a ridiculous number of hard drives to store it. And if you do manage to download it, then you're just overwhelmed by the sheer length of the recordings. You're talking about 100,000 hours worth of audio. So how do you find what you're looking for in there? It's the proverbial needle in a haystack. We wanted to provide an exploratory visualization interface that allowed people to detect the expected features in the data and discover unexpected features. So this interface should let people very quickly look through years worth of data, and it should be optimized to visually reveal interesting features and patterns, and then let people quickly drill down into those regions of interest to look at the details and see the raw data itself. We wanted to try creating a web-based visualization for this project because it would ensure maximum accessibility for researchers and the public. They wouldn't need to download the massive datasets, they wouldn't need to install any special software, and it's an inherently cross-platform solution. So it'll work on a desktop that's running Windows or Mac or Linux, and it'll work on everything from a smartphone to a tablet to an exotic display. Like in our lab at the bottom here, you can see we have a 50 megapixel tile display, and we can stretch the spectrogram windows out over that to see months and months worth of data at a time. This is the main mapping interface built on the open source Leaflet JavaScript library, so it shows the different lander locations on top of the bathymetry so you can see where they're positioned in relation to the continental shelf. You can also plot all the animals that were sighted by the observers during the cruises when they were dropping and recovering the landers in that location. You can click on each of these icons and get a little bit more information about what species was sighted and when. To put the project results in context, we provide a number of environmental data layers, such as chlorophyll, shown here. It's a satellite-derived measurement, so there's a lot of gaps from cloud cover, but it's still a very useful measurement because the amount of chlorophyll that we can detect correlates with the amount of food that's available and thus the animal activity in that area. We can also show wind speed, so this is a driver of high-frequency noise, and here we can see a time when Hurricane Florence passed over the survey region and passed directly over the Cape Hatteras and Wilmington lander sites. We can also draw sea surface temperature, so this is very useful for seeing the path of the Gulf Stream and the relative temperatures between the different areas, which also drives animal migration patterns. And this data is derived from the RTOFS model. The ADION project also contained a soundscape modeling component. These 5D modeled soundscapes can also be displayed on the main map. Shown here is a soundscape of ship noise, which was modeled off of AIS ship traffic data. Users can select different depths to see the sound levels anywhere between the surface and the seafloor. There is also a modeled soundscape for wind. This soundscape shows the contribution of surface winds to the sound energy level at different depths and different frequencies. Clicking on an individual lander location will bring up a linked visualization interface window. These provide information about the lander, its instrumentation, and its location. Tabs within the interface bring up different visualizations of the data from that lander, including heat maps and spectrograms. Users are able to open these windows for multiple landers at once, allowing side-by-side comparisons. We pre-processed the entire collection of raw audio files into spectrogram images. Based on many years of human factors experiments, we designed a perceptually optimized color scale that best reveals the features within the spectrograms, while still being usable by people with many types of color blindness. These spectrogram images are then presented to users through our tri-level spectrogram viewer. The top level is the fully zoomed out view and shows a few weeks worth of data at a time. By scrolling through this top level, you can quickly look through multiple years worth of recordings to find regions of interest. When something catches your eye, you can click on it and it centers the other two levels on that time. The middle level presents spectrograms at a medium zoom level. Here you can see about a day's worth of data at a time. This zoom level gives you enough granularity to see larger events such as ships transiting the area, as well as individual animal calls such as these whale noises here. Users can then click on these individual events to drill down into the full resolution data in the bottom level. This level presents a few minutes worth of data at full half-second resolution. By mousing over the spectrogram, you can query the exact time and frequency of any pixel. Selecting a range of time in this spectrogram allows you to then play or download that audio clip. We also provide the ability to filter the audio by a specific frequency range. In this case, you can select a rectangular portion of the spectrogram and then download just the audio that's within that time and frequency range. This can help you listen to and identify sounds that you can see in the spectrogram but are hard to listen to because of distracting noise and other frequencies. By pre-calculating all of the spectrograms and storing them as highly compressed images, we're able to serve them up to the viewer almost as fast as they can click around, making the entire interface very speedy and responsive. The ADN project also focused on research into doing automatic event detection on the audio files. The collection of recordings was run through a variety of filters which detected different marine mammal calls and other vocalizations, as well as seismic pulses and different shipping noise tonals. The output from these filters were contained in large CSV files. For every few minutes of audio, there was a line in the CSV file containing the timestamp and the number of times each of the filters detected an event. These files are unwieldy and very hard to gain any real insight from. To present this data visually, we used a heat map visualization. In these plots, each cell represents 1 hour. The intensity of the color within each cell indicates the number of events that were detected during that hour. This makes it easy to see the distribution and concentration of events over time. These heat map visualizations are fully interactive. You can mouse over a cell to see the exact count of the detections in that hour. If you click on a cell in the heat map, it automatically switches to the spectrogram viewer and fast forwards it to that exact time. This allows you to see the raw audio that triggered those event detections. You can filter the events being shown by different species or event types. Here we can see when dolphin clicks were detected. We can shift the time of day that the plot wraps to keep the pattern fully on screen. A day and night indicator shows us the hours of daylight and darkness, so we can see here that dolphins are mostly clicking at night. We can display contextual environmental information such as the level of chlorophyll, the wind speed, or the sea surface temperature. By displaying the sea surface temperature, we're able to see that dolphins in this region are primarily active during the cooler months of the year. So far, this plot's been drawn continuously across the screen, but we can also stack all of the different years on top of each other to get a cyclic visualization. Here we can shift the plot around so that it centers on the winter at night, and then we can use the emphasis feature to see the individual contribution of each year to the overall plot. Another data product we looked into were 60-second means calculated for decade frequency bins. And again, this took the form of a large CSV file, and it really wasn't easy to get any insight out of this. We wanted to visualize where and when things were unusually loud or unusually quiet than normal. We started by calculating running means and standard deviations for the sound pressure levels at every decade frequency bin. We did this with 3 moving window sizes: weekly, monthly, and quarterly. We were then able to plot the number of standard deviations each decade frequency bin was away from the mean sound pressure level. We generated these plots using a diverging color scale. White indicates normal sound pressure levels, while red indicates unusually loud areas, and blue indicates unusually quiet areas. Similar to the spectrogram viewer, we provide a tri-level deviations viewer. As with the spectrogram viewer, the higher levels allow you to quickly explore large amounts of time and then drill down into the lower levels to see things in detail. Users are able to adjust the moving window size from weekly, monthly, or quarterly. This can be helpful for suppressing short-term noise patterns or long-term sensor drift. In conclusion, we were able to create a web-based visualization interface to enable researchers and the general public to explore this massive Adion dataset without having to download terabytes of raw recordings or install any specialized software. We hope that this interface is going to be able to help researchers, managers, and regulators gain insight from the data that was collected so that it can help inform future, more targeted studies into the impacts of marine noise. And we welcome you to just log into the Adion website and go give it a try yourself. You can find it at www.adion.unh.edu.